Inequality in South Africa. It's not surprising that often strike protests are overpower resources and access. Investigation is needed to query demonstrations that result in slander and violence, when peaceful protests can also be just as effective in driving a potent message across. Tony Healy, a Labour consultant, joins us in studio to tell us a little bit more about some of the strike action we've been seeing this year. But let's begin off with the one that we're seeing now. Good to have you, Tony. Thank you very much for coming in.
Morning.
So yesterday we had SABC in studio, we had NUMSA in studio. We thought the strike had come to an end, but it appears it's not. There's more to this. Give us from your perspective, what is going on? What's going to happen now?
Well, Leanne, we have an agreement between the unions and the major employers.
Yeah.
Where we don't have agreement is between the unions and the smaller employers,
okay,
in simple language. So the smaller employers are saying we cannot and won't pay the 7.5% to 10% increase that's been agreed by the bigger employers, and until such time as the unions agreed to pay the lesser amount that they believe they can afford, they are locking out those workers and saying, you know what, we're not letting you in until you agree that we pay you a lesser amount.
A lesser amount. So they are not allowed back at work on the premises now because the employer says they cannot afford this increase.
Yes, and that's really the counter to, forgive me, that's the counter that an employer has, as opposed to a strike. Employees strike, employers can lock it.
How many people are we looking at that fall under NUMSA?
Well, it's the larger employer organization as far as the number of employers are concerned. So NUMSA represents about 11,000 employers, but about maybe 10 to 15% of the workforce that works in the metal industry.
Okay. All right. So SABC has the majority of the workers under its belt. Okay. So we're still struggling, and it's the little ones that we need to look at. I mean, because they can't, they cannot afford this, and that's the problem. You'll see them shutting down. I mean, is that a risk that we're facing right now?
I think it is, and I have sympathy for the smaller employers. These are the fledgling businesses, the startups, the micro businesses that employ 10, 20, 30 employees, and they are struggling, and very many of them won't be able to afford the kinds of increases that have been agreed to be paid by the bigger employers.
Yeah. Let's veer off this course for a while, and let's talk about something that we did see happening during this particular protest and previous ones, that of violence. And I actually brought it up with Irvin Jim yesterday, the incidents of violence that happened during the strike. And I imagine that we're going to see more, especially now, over the anger from these employers that are not going to be able to go back to their jobs. Why do they resort to violence? Why is this the only way of expression?
Look, there are probably two reasons. I think firstly, the violence and intimidation is used to disrupt the business, so to prevent replacement labor from coming to work, to prevent non-strikers from coming to work, and to prevent the strikers from changing their mind and wanting to return to work. So it's used as a tactic to stop people going to work and to disrupt business. And then I think a lot of it is just desperation. It's unacceptable, it's unjustifiable, and it's an unfortunate feature of our industrial action landscape. But a part of the problem is, you can go to court and have interdicts to prevent this, but having interdicts enforced against violent conduct is also very difficult.
Yeah. South Africa, unfortunately, is considered one of the most violent countries in the world that's not at war.
Sure.
I mean, that's probably one way of explaining it. This must affect foreign direct investment. I mean, when other countries are seeing this, why would they want to put money here? I mean, does it deter it? Does it deter money coming in?
It very definitely does. I mean, I have interaction with certain of these potential investors, and they will say that South Africa is becoming uninvestable because there's just so much risk. Productivity is so unpredictable. It's so volatile, and there are locations elsewhere on the globe where they can invest and have less risk when it comes to returns on their investments.
Yeah. Just finally, I mean, we find ourselves all around the world, and particularly here in South Africa, in a very, very difficult economic position. And things are getting worse with all of these strikes. Can we afford this? Can we really afford this with jobs being lost in every direction you turn? And now with so much strike action that we've seen this year, where is South Africa going? Where's our economy going?
Look, it's a very serious problem. It's probably a national crisis, like our unemployment rate is a national crisis. You know, we lurch from lengthy violent strike to lengthy violent strike. It has enormous implications for not just workplaces but also communities. So sooner or later there has to be a social pact, if you like, between the social partners, the state, employers and labour, to forge a way which is going to where a path can be found where there's greater industrial peace and greater harmony and indeed greater productivity.
Yeah, indeed, bringing in stronger and stricter industrial laws. Is that perhaps one of the solutions? Because we've got such a good constitution,
yes,
and yet the laws governing the strikes and everything seem to take precedent when incidences like this do come about.
I think that's right. You know, we've had 20 years of democracy, we've had 20 years of these democratic labour laws, and if we look back over the 20 years, we'd have to say that they haven't succeeded in achieving the objectives that we've all set, which is a greater degree of industrial peace and harmony and greater productivity.
All right, good talking to you. Thank you very much for coming in and shedding a little bit of light on this. Tony Healy is a labour consultant talking to us about the latest strike action that we've been seeing over this recent strike, and of course the strike that we saw at the beginning of the year as well, that brought the platinum industries to a standstill, the longest ever protracted strike here in South African history.